and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zeimet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zeimet Show, where being the best you can be has just gotten easier. My guest today is coming from way across the pond on the other side of the planet, straight out of London. She tells me she just moved there from Australia, which is awesome. Her name is Veronica Sanchez, and boy, are you in for a treat today. Welcome, Veronica.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's we're going to talk about the pineal gland activation, and I think this is something that's going to interest a lot of our listeners here, because it's something that we can really get into. And now, with the situation as across the globe, this is a good thing to be able to understand and maybe help keep us in that uplifted position, right? And to keep our vibrations going high and move away from that fear a little bit. So Veronica, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the activities that you're doing today.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Chile.
Okay.
But almost 20 years ago, I met my Australian husband. So I ended up coming and going from Australia and living there a few times and traveling a lot, because he works in finance, but with mining.
Oh, okay.
So we have to move a lot. And so we just moved from Sydney, Australia to London, because his company was going to go into the stock market here. That is not happening anymore, of course. So we are dependent on the current situation right now. So we have to see how
exactly.
And how I got involved into the pineal gland. That's a really good question. Look, before going to Australia for the second time to live there, I used to live in Santiago, Chile. And when I was just coming to live in Australia again, just before that, a friend of mine lent me a book. And this book was about the pineal gland activation. It was a book by Fresia Castro, the creator of the cyclokia method, I am an instructor of that method because of my experience with the pineal gland activation.
Sure.
So I read the book, and then I had to go to Australia. I went back for vacations to Chile, and I decided to take a seminar, the pineal gland activation seminar, and it changed my life completely. I mean, it just shifted me, my whole way of seeing things,
Right. I think we got a little freeze going on here. We look at around the world and everything that's global, and with the internet, sometimes the stability of that is a little bit shaky, but we're going to work through it. We'll see what happens here and see if Veronica can find her way back. Yeah, quite interesting. Okay, did you make it back, Veronica? Okay. Not quite sure what's happening, but she'll find her way back, I promise you, if she has to get off and come back. And she did, right? So we're going to find out how she got involved with that pineal gland activation. And it's like a lot of us, we get exposed to something that kind of trips the trigger a little bit and kind of resonates. And we find a book, and then we end up going to classes and seminars, and it becomes a passion, and then it becomes a life's journey. And so whatever that is, where is your journey? And it's finding that journey of who you are, where you are, why you are, and what that purpose is, right? So that you can continue on. And hey, Veronica, she makes it back, right? Oh, now she's gone again. But again, you look at technology and where we are and coming from around the globe, so again, when you're looking to find that passion of who you are and what it is that you want to do and work into that spiritual end of it, getting deep inside where you are.
Yeah, now?
And there you are.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
using my phone now. It's not, the connection is
Okay.
not very good. Sorry about that.
That's great. We're just filling in the blanks here, waiting for you to come back. We knew you'd find your way back sooner or later, and that's okay. That's okay. So it's just sharing with people, how and why we choose to get into the line of work that we do. And finding something that just sparks something in us. We read a book, we end up taking workshops, and it becomes that lifelong passion. And as you were explaining, getting into that pineal activation. So let's continue to share with the audience what pineal activation really is. What does that entail, right?
Okay, look, this method that was created by the spiritual leader Fresia Castro, the Latin spiritual leader, what does is that you internally activate your pineal gland. It means you use your powers within to activate the pineal gland through what we call creative commands. So there's nothing external, because a lot of the things right now are external things, like herbs, like chemicals and all that, and images and all that. And those are really stimulations, because when the effect of these stimulations pass, you have to come back to them again. Whereas the pineal gland activation, internal activation of the pineal gland cyclopia method is an internal process, and you just practice every day, just a way to connect to the source. It shows you a way to a straight connection to the source. So you get that energy acting for you, with you here in this field, and you produce your results in what we call co-creation.
Okay.
Right?
Great.
So everything you do is more powerful and is from an elevated state of being. So that's what we teach, and that's what it got me into this, because I could see the results in myself. Yeah, starting first, like inner peace, inner calm. Even my family was surprised, because being Latin, you are like this, like that. And my husband was, "Well, keep doing what you're doing, because this thing has improved."
Oh, that's great when you can get that kind of confirmation from your spouse, and he says, "Whoa, keep doing what you're doing. This is making life a lot easier."
Exactly. Because you start reacting, a lot calmer, and reflecting a bit more, and you start becoming. I work with a concept, really, with the concept of radiant being. So you start becoming a radiant being when you practice any practice that you do, even meditation and all that. And if you go to through the path of enlightenment, right, you become a radiant being, someone that expands love, happiness, peace, and everything in the world. And we need that now. And we start with ourselves, right? So that's my line of work now, is like trying to get everything out of people, so they can become these radiant beings and radiant leaders that can live the world and their life in that way, with love. Not being the love of the attachments, being the love that keeps everything together. Love is the force that keeps the universe together. It's like a glue, right?
That's a great way to put it. That is an awesome way to put it. Love is like the glue that holds the universe and everything in it together, which is us, and we're all
Exactly.
one, right? To be that enlightened, loving being, and now we need more love than ever, because of the situation and that's going on, and to not jump into that fear. You make a couple of really good points in what you were just saying with why the activation of the pineal and what it does and how it makes you feel peaceful and more relaxed, and you respond differently. That's a key, is responding differently. So when you can, instead of automatically responding in that button pushing negative defensive way, all of a sudden it's like a whole different ballgame, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, I used to respond that way, action and reaction. Now try this over here. It's a little bit more comfortable, right? And so when we talk about the pineal, so if we go into the medical side of where the pineal gland is, oh, we lost her again. She'll be back. There she is.
No,
So when
I'm
we
fine.
when we look at where that pineal gland is located, sometimes it's referred to as that third eye, right? It's in the back part of the brain, kind of down by that medulla oblongata, in the
Yeah,
old brain, in that reptilian brain, where the what is it? The pineal, the
the
hypothalamus, and
cerebellum,
the yeah,
cerebellum.
yeah. So
Cere-
so it's down there at that bottom, and it's only a very small size. So when you hear the
yeah,
little connotations like, hey, you just got a pea brain, well, you do. And that pineal is that little pea brain that is so powerful. So don't discredit that. And so working with that kind of triggers you into a level of vibration, like say into that theta state, right? So you're working in high levels of alpha and theta state, which is that peaceful, calming vibration that gives you a different perspective, because it moves you out of the chaos of this conscious world where we get caught up in the abundance of stuff, right? And you made a point to that. It's like moving away from the stuff to really understand the spirit essence and start living in the
exactly.
abundance of the spirit versus the abundance of the material. Do I have that correct? Okay.
Exactly, exactly. Because you actually what you do is that your view of the world changes
Mm-hmm.
profoundly. And when it changes profoundly, the things that you considered important before are not that important now, because
Right.
you realize that we are energy beings,
Yes.
and that we are all the same, that there is no separation, and that if I am an energy being, you are an energy being too. So we start relating to people in that way, and that's very beautiful. And also we start creating our own life, our what we want to produce in the world from that
Exactly.
space.
Right.
Yeah,
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And what better time to really start focusing on some of that, what you just mentioned, than now? So look at the world around you. Look at how your life was just a couple weeks ago, right? Depending on where on the planet that you are, 2-3 weeks ago, life was completely different, right? And
absolutely.
now you're in a confined area, should we say? This is your home, right? But again, it's kind of like you're in lockdown. It's like, but what happened here? And again, so you made a really great comment when you said, what are the things that are important to you? Because it shifts. So look around, kind of go back over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, and look at the things in that world that were a priority of importance to you that now are no longer in your life. How has that created the change, the shift? What are you doing now? What is really important to you at this time in your life, right? And when you look at family, right? Like that family
Oh,
unit is starting to come back, right? Are you
absolutely.
are you making the best of it, or are you allowing conflict to get in the way? Because it's like it's prevented you from being out there in what you believed was important in that materialistic world out there. So going back into, again, going into that self, right? And understanding and finding the identity truth of who you are in relationship to the world around you, right?
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's because now it's more important to treasure relationships with your
Treasure.
family,
That's a good word,
treasure them,
treasure.
and
Yes.
yeah, and make a point of listening, of talking to people. And if you are in alignment with your own spiritual being, that is easier,
Yes.
because that's the thing that we need now. We need that alignment with the universe, with the source, with the great architect, whatever you want to name it, God, whatever
Exactly.
you want to name it. We need that alignment, that connection. So with that connection, then we can function in the world and have better relationships with ourselves and with other people,
Right.
especially now that we are all at home, and our levels of patience are tested every minute.
That's a good
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
yeah,
That level of patience sometimes can be challenging. Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Look, I have twins. I have teenage twins, a boy and a girl, and of course they are here, and yeah, they are using the internet the whole day. So I have to be okay. Put that aside and concentrate in your homework and things like that. So
Right.
because you're not used to having the people all the time with you, your
Oh,
people, your
exactly.
loved ones.
Yeah.
So that's we could say a good byproduct of this of this crisis. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
because that's what it is. And is let's look at the positives. What is
Right.
bringing, what is taking out of us the best of us, right?
Right.
And it's taking all that, the connection, conversations, the love, the showing affection, just calling your parents, your auntie, or people that you never thought about before. They exist, they are there,
Right.
but you never made the effort. For example, now a lot of people are doing that, and I think that's a very, very good thing.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would agree with that because family is family, and it's still that bloodline. And when we talk about that pineal activation, right, and going into that level of centerness in yourself, and finding your true identity and the spirit essence of who you are, and that shifting. And you said, you noticed a difference, your husband, how he responded to you because you were responding different to him. And so it follows the bloodline, right? So when you
That,
heal the bloodline within the essence of who you are, it's going to impact your bloodline behind you, the generations behind you, the generations that are across, angled, with siblings and everything, and aunts and uncles and all of that. But then it's also going to go forward into your children, your grandchildren, and all of that, right? Once that bloodline is shifted, it doesn't go back into that old patterning. And that's the beauty of this awakening, the spiritual movement, whatever you want to call it, that reconnection to that divine intelligence, that power that comes from from who we were created from. That substance. We're all made out of the same thing. We're all stardust. We're all dirt from the ground, however you want to perceive that. But we all have the intellect to be able to tap into the database of the divine intelligence. And how we do that is what makes a difference. So, activating that pineal gland, my belief is, when you do that, that's like the cross link to that information because it puts you in that space of relaxation, of peace, of harmony, of everything to where you can tap into the abundance available into the universe so that you can move out of any kind of scarcities, any kind of fears, and start that process moving and rolling right along to where we can have a world that's going to be built now on love, as you mentioned earlier, right? To be able to be that expression of it and not be, you know, worried about or fearful of what that other person is going to do. You know, no more boogeymans out here because it's this whole mindset thing, right? The fear of the unknown. You can create that unknown in your own space of what you want it to be, right? And the duality world, this duality world, what side of the fence are you on? And so, working with those avenues with that pineal gland and that peacefulness, how do you start to communicate when you're working with a client? You know, when they come to you, where do you take
Okay.
them on that journey when you start that? Because most people have no clue what that even is, right? Right?
Exactly, exactly. Well, we offer this through seminars. That's not possible anymore. But we take people on a journey, right? So the first step is to discover yourself, who you really are. Not this, this vehicle only, our temple, our physical temple. Really discover who you really are, this energy. And we do this through experience. And then I take the clients through the pineal gland activation. Is an exercise that we do with creative commands. And then you have the experience of your real being
Mm-hmm.
and the experience of being connected to that source, using the pineal gland as the door, as the open door to do this. Yeah.
Yes.
And then once people learn that, then they learn a way to always be connected in just 1, 2, 3 steps. Always be connected and start always producing results for their life and the lives of the people around them, because they become radiant beings, right? They become these radiant people that expand all this around. And that's the process, more or less. So um, people really have an experience. It's a journey. It's a journey that is done. Is The seminar lasts like 9 hours. It's very long. There's a lot of information, and there's a lot of exercises, like 3 major exercises.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is the pineal gland activation. And you can. How can I tell that people are changing? They change after the activation because of their eyes. I can
Oh,
see
really?
their eyes.
Okay.
They change. They. It's like, oh my God, this is me, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is who I really, and this is, I'm here to do something. This is my purpose. And this is me, this energy that come, comes from the origin. And I am now attached to my origin again. Every time we do these exercises, we come back to the origin again. Because here, as you said, we live in this duality, in these polarities, right?
Right.
This right, wrong, positive, negative, you know everything in between, right? But
Yes.
when we are connected and we use the pineal gland to connect to that power, we are in the electronic field, which is perfection. There's no polarities there.
Exactly.
There's no
Exactly.
polarities there.
And what a
And
beautiful
then
place
when
to
you
be.
get that energy, yeah, it's beautiful. And it's just practice, 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 like everything. I mean, if you practice meditation, you go deeper and deeper and deeper, because it requires practice. It's the same as yoga, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's beautiful. So it's an experience. That's the journey, more or less, that we go during the seminar, right? Yeah.
That's beautiful. And again, so when we look at what we're talking here about being that best you that you can be, right? To be able to really discover that identity of you, and this is the work that I work with, is to find that identity, Where is that identity? So when you're going into that activation, when you're taking someone down into that depth, their true identity begins to show, right? And so it's, how do we get there, right? A lot of people are starting to ask that. How do we get there? You know, and when they look at meditation, so I have to go and sit here like this. No, it's not
No,
that. It's not
no, it's
that.
not.
You know, because everyone meditates, they daydream, that's meditation. If you go into a prayer, that's a form of meditation. But again, it's that focus, you know. And now you capitalize on something here. You said it's a 9 hour intensity, you know, workshop that you have. And of course, now that has shifted because of the separation. However, it can be done, and these are some of the things that I've been working on prior to this even happening, is to how can we do this in a virtual setting and working to get that synergism back together. And I had a friend of mine contact me about a month and a half or so ago, and I had shared with him a year ago of what I was looking to have virtual workshops to reach that synergism. And he says, I got your answer. And he did. And so we've been working with that and building that. And then all of a sudden, poof, here, here we are in this situation. And it just kind of speeded up that process. So to be able to do what you're doing and doing in a synergism, and we can talk deeper, you know, into that at another time. But to be able to do that, again, it's getting resourceful to be able to bring that out there, because it really is an important thing to reach that, to be able to do your workshops in a different environment, but get
Absolutely.
that same outcome. You know, and that's what it's all about, is to help you become that better you. And how can we do that? You know, it's how do you get that word out? How do you get those workshops out there? How do you do this? Right? Because it's a key element of where to go. And it's a direction. Could you do it on yourself? Yeah. But you know what? It goes a lot faster when someone has these steps and can say, here we go. Are you ready to pay attention? Let's step up to the plate. Are you committed? Here's step 1, step 2, step 3. And to
Yeah,
be in that synergism of reality, you know, because one-on-one, you know, granted, you're making a difference. But when you can still put a group of people together, you're getting there so much faster. And so are they, because it kind of helps, again, with that energy, right? That's there.
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. That's why the pineal gland activation, the basic seminar that we teach, is always in groups, because you help one another, and the energy is elevated in a
Right.
more powerful way. But also, you people, we need sometimes to see what the other is doing,
Yeah.
right? We need
Yeah.
those kind of certainty, right? Those kind
Right.
of affirmation, self-affirmation, right?
Right.
So that's good when you do it. And you are absolutely right. Now, with all that is happening, we need to find the ways. I know that the Cyclopedia Method Worldwide Net is working on that. So hopefully we can do it. Now, what I can
Right.
do online is another workshop that the Cyclopedia Method has, which is the roadmap. Is an energetic self-diagnosis to undo an energetic knots that prevent us from moving forward. And that can be done online, but not yet the pineal gland, because we are working, because as I told you, it's 9 hours that
Right.
we have to put and condense and think and not miss any point, because we work with science and spirit, science and spirituality. So we cannot leave the science behind and all that, but we have to be creative. I mean, this
Right.
is perfect time to be creative now.
It
You
sure
know,
is. It sure is. It's going to definitely be a different world coming out of this than it was going in. And it's very important what you were saying, you know, with the science, right? We have the technology today to test that science on what that pineal gland does, right? Metaphysics knew what it was. They understood it, but they didn't have the technology to prove it. And again, we live in this doubtful situation, you know, this whole duality thing. It's like, well, prove it to me. Show me. Right? We have this state
Absolutely.
over here called Missouri, and it was called the Show Me State. Right? So, so when anybody would say, "Yeah, really? Well, show me," and say, "Oh, you from Missouri?" You know. So we all have our little joke, slang things, that come up and out of it, to keep things on that light side. But let's get serious and we go back into that, right? Is to what can we do to make that shift, right? So with that science, to be able to prove that and to have that understanding, because people it's just like they want to know what that is. And it's okay because we have it, let's use it, right? And when they can see that, it's amazing on how fast the shifting can happen. And so you're probably, I don't know if you hook up to certain different equipment where you can show that or whatever. But again, it's understanding what that science is. And when you're working on a virtual avenue, where now you're not side by side in a group setting, yet we can put you in a room that changes the psyche because we're in an auditorium. Now you're focusing on that. Everyone's in there with their little avatar, so to speak. But you can have a person-to-person interaction. So when you are at home, again, this is that commitment to do a 9-hour commitment, right? In that capacity, when the psyche says, yes, I see the auditorium, I see these other people there, I see the person up here teaching me, but you've got to get rid of what's at home. What is in your environment, because it's like you're not driving to a convention center or whatever the case may be. You're driving yourself from that space in that room into this space, and the people that are around you in those surroundings have to honor that, because you really have to be committed, because if you're not committed to that, you're doing a disruption to the whole course, the whole class, and you're disrespecting them, and you're not honoring yourself. So that has to have that commitment to be able to do that for that full day, right?
Exactly. Look, I just had the experience of attending one of the advanced courses, the first course that Fresia Castro did online last weekend, and I was amazed because people really stood there for 2 days, 6 hours every day, and with a little bit of a pause in the middle, and people really were really committed. And it was funny because some of them, they didn't want to leave their laptops or phones, so they even went to the toilet with the phone. So they had to, you couldn't see anything, but you saw that it was
That there was
So
a change of view back here, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that when we are online, we don't want to miss the images or
Right.
anything. So we just take our device everywhere we go.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly, and we
So
have that option, and that's great.
yeah,
That shows commitment to the self. A lot of times we put ourselves on that back burner. It's not about being on the back burner anymore. It's about bringing yourself to the forefront, and to really say, "Hey, this is about me." And I need to take that right now, because it does make a difference in how I interact in the world and how I interact around every person that my path crosses, right? And we are in that age of awakening. We moved out of the age of Aquarius into the age of Pisces, right?
and this has been announced, right?
Oh,
These
yes,
shifts,
yes.
they have been announced by all the great spiritual schools and masters and everyone.
And
So we knew that was coming, but not in this way.
Well, you know what? Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. And again, it's moving yourself out of the way to be receptive to whatever it is life throws at you. And I think what was happening with the awakening, that people were not paying attention. And it's like, how do I get your attention, right? So the powers to be, shall we say, that divine intelligence. How am I going to get these people to wake up down there? Hello, everybody down there. Are you paying attention? I guess not. Okay. What kind of situation can we put them in so they will say, okay, what's next? Okay, got it, right? And then start really working on that. And there are a lot of light beings down here you know, and practitioners like yourself and like me and a lot of the speakers I've been talking with
Yes.
that are the leaders in this. And this is why I felt really compelled to start this show, because it's all about where do we go and how do we come that best us that we can be. And all of these talks, all these information, all of this stuff is, it all comes back to the same thing. It's just a different path to get there. Which path is the most comfortable for you to follow? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. You have to have, I mean, you have to be in alignment with with your spiritual practice. You have to really understand what you're doing, and you have to be committed. You
Hmm.
know,
Exactly.
it requires commitment, and there is not just one truth. There is just, many, many, and probably those many are only one. Yeah. So
Yes.
anyway, so that's the thing, that we have to learn this way to really attune to what I call the electronic field, or the field, or
Right.
point zero, like some people say, and just act from there. Act from there, and find our ways, and get out of these polarities in some way. Although we have to live in the
Right.
polarities, have to find ways to elevate ourselves sometimes, from time to time, right? And just look at the world from another perspective. And yeah, so it requires commitment, and
Yep.
that's the thing, that a lot of people don't want to do that. And I can see that they want just the quick meditation, the quick
The
yoga
quick
lesson,
fix. Yeah.
the quick, and they don't want to go inside, because they think it's a lot of work.
Well,
That's
going
misconception also.
going in here doesn't always look good. Doesn't taste good. Doesn't
Exactly.
feel good. Doesn't sound good. Well, it's you. It's the you that you come to believe that is you that really isn't. So now it's time to face that and say, hey, what kind of facade am I carrying? Why am I continue to lie to myself, right? Lie to the world out here, it doesn't matter, but quit lying to yourself, right? And get down into that. And it's not as difficult as you think it is, because when you surrender and take responsibility, it can go very fast or it can go slow or not at all. And that's your choice, right? That's your choice, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's the way. And we have these ideas that everything that we do has to be difficult,
Whoops, there goes that connection thing again. And we do have that crazy idea that everything has to be difficult. It's not difficult. That's a mindset, right? And we've been taught that, it has to be hard work. If it's not hard work, if you're not, nose to the grindstone and everything, then it's not worth it. You're not going to get ahead. That's not true, right? So difficulty is a learned thing. Simplicity and making it simple doesn't mean it's easy, but keeping it simple and following that true given pathway of what those steps are is where the key element is. So where are you in that development of where you're going? Are you making things more difficult? Because in the difficultiness we make excuses. Those excuses go back into the lies we tell ourselves, because we want to justify that and we want to feel good. And it's easier to blame someone else than it is to hold ourselves accountable and being responsible. And that's a key element in every aspect of your life, and where you take that and that belief, right? Veronica was talking about, your belief and your trust. Where is that, right? So you don't, believing and trusting out here is one thing, but believing and trusting in here, because you can't pass out more trust, to the outside world than what that trust is that you give to yourself, right? And we talked about love, right? So when you love yourself, and the love that you're passing out to others can only be the love that you give within yourself, right? And so if you're creating difficult situations in here, you're going to be confronted out here with difficult situations. So all of it is a reflection. We are a reflection of one another. And so when you look in through the eyes of someone else into their world and what's going on in their life, right? Where does the judgment thing go? How often do we judge ourselves? Right? Whoa, there's the key. And so when you start looking at that, we beat ourselves up so much and we don't give ourselves credit for the powerful being that we are. And that's what keeps us locked into a lot of this, uncomfortableness, this static, this friction. So how can you get out of that? And when you're looking at that pineal activation, because it moves you out of that consciousness of this third dimensional world where our see, touch, taste, smell, and hearing, see, touch, taste, hear, smell, right? Those 5 senses, right? We activate on that. We're living and responding on that. And that's action and reaction, and that's emotional, and that's feeling. But when we can get into a calm state, into a peace, and start moving out of that beta of that consciousness and moving into the alpha states and into the theta states where there is that balance and harmony of that peaceful. And so the pineal activation takes you down in that, and it can take you there very fast when you understand what it is. And like Veronica was mentioning, there's a lot of things out there. There's different vibrations out there. There's different music things. There's subliminals and all kinds of stuff that work in helping to get you into that frame of mind of relaxation that calms the body, that calms a lot of things, and it kind of helps you move out of the conscious thought and that fear level to come from another perspective and to kind of listen to what the information is coming from that divine energy source. And when you can pick up on that energy source that's coming from out there through the activation of that pineal gland, and Veronica mentioned something about activating that from the inner instead of using the things on the outer, such as sound meditation and vibration and color and all that kind of stuff. I see you're back. This is great. We were just kind of talking in general some of the things and how we're going to get there, and the difficulty thing, and how we make it difficult in our own minds and what we can do to shift it. Let's talk a little bit about how you interact and how you activate that from the internal versus the external. I was talking a little bit about the vibration, listening to things that put you into that theta or alpha state of relaxation and harmony. So what's the difference between the external activation and the internal activation when it comes to the pineal?
Okay, look, the internal activation is done through creative commands. You direct your own process. So I guide an exercise, and that exercise touches different points of the body, and that exercise also has like a key for us to connect, because this method unites all the spiritual schools teachings and ancient teachings and science. So we do it through what we call creative commands. And so there's nothing external but music, and then we learn a way to even do it without music. Okay. So you and the source connect. So we go through certain points until we arrive to the pineal gland, and then we just give a command to connect to the source. And it's just certain instructions that people have to follow. When you do the other part, like for example, you go and have, let's say, some drugs or some herbs and all that, mm-hmm. the thing is that you can get to an awakened state there, but you actually have to come back to that again because the effects pass.
Right. So like if you're using a hallucinatory, a hallucinogenic drug or something like that to put you in that relaxed state, whatever it is, it's to get back into, because your body then becomes dependent on that outside source of whatever that drug of choice is, whether it's a musical vibration or subliminal messaging or a drug that's going to put you in that frame. To reach that again, you must come back into that all the time, if I'm hearing you correctly, right? where when you can do
Exactly,
your
you have to come back all the time to that to have an effect. There are these machines now, I don't know the name of them, but you know, that they are supposed to activate your pineal gland, and so every month you have to go again, right?
right.
This, what we teach, what I teach, an exercise that you practice every day. And that exercise is, because it's not meditation, but we could call like it's a kind of meditation, but it has to be with the pineal gland, and you have to focus on there, and you have to follow the instructions of the exercise, and then you learn that exercise, and you do it in 1, 2, 3 steps,
What
and
can you mention
during
what
the
those
whole
steps are? Can you share with the audience what those steps are?
the steps is like I can give you a little bit of an exercise. It's not exactly the activation, but it's kinda. It's
Okay.
called the connection.
Okay.
Okay. So so if you want it, you just close your eyes,
Okay.
and then you focus on the middle of your brain,
Okay.
and you see a very bright light in the middle of your brain.
Okay.
And now you give the command that one of those rays that you see from that light, that ball of light, goes out from your head and connects to the source.
Okay.
And then you inhale and exhale from that ray of light, and that ray of light sits in your heart center. And then you inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, and you feel that this light is expanding. Every time you inhale, you absorb, and every time you exhale, you expand. So you can come back when you are ready.
That was nice. it was
That,
it
that,
was
that is
soothing.
called exercise. Yeah, it's a connection exercise.
Right.
Yeah, it's soothing. It's very good, and
It is very good. It's
and
heartwarming. It was very heartwarming, to just to be able
yeah,
to, some people can visualize that, some people can't, but if you give yourself permission, because your subconscious and your higher consciousness will do exactly what you just commanded it to do. Envision that light in there in the center of your brain, right? A ray going out, okay, because we know what that is. Connect with source, okay, right? And then as you breathe in
yeah.
the energy from source, move it to your heart, and just let that be, and give yourself permission to feel that. It was like this warming sensation started traveling down. It's like, whoa, that feels nice, right? So
Yeah, it's a very simple way to connect. Of course, it's not the pineal gland activation that requires really a lot more,
right,
but it's just an exercise that we show when people ask us how can I just calm myself down, or just I don't want to think about anything, or I am stressed. This is a
right,
very good exercise for that. Yeah,
yeah.
very good. So yeah, that's the
Well, thank
connection
you so much for
exercise.
sharing that. That was nice, right? And gosh, I get to do a lot of crazy stuff on the show. I love it, But you know, so again, when we move back into that finding the self, and that's key. That's key number one, right? To where this is about you and being committed to who you are. And so we go back into being that best you that you can be. What does that mean? Ask yourself that every morning when you wake up. What am I going to do today that's going to help me become that best me that I know is in here? And now we have a lot of extra time that we always had, but maybe we didn't incorporate it into, utilizing it. because we're so busy being busy with everything else. And now we can really start to take time for ourselves and reconnect and reevaluate and restructure that essence of who you are. And this is just one little technique if you're ready to go there and start activating that pineal and start moving into the spirituality of who you are, into that awakening of who you are. You know, reach out. There's comment box down here. That's what it's for, right? It's not for you to think, well, maybe I should. It's for you to say, okay, I'm going to click this comment box and I have this question, right? Or just go and PM either myself or Veronica, right? This is a unity. This is a global connection. Let's make it the best that we can and do it step by step. You know, it's not just a one-time hit. It's a lifetime of commitment to yourself. To yourself. Right? And the pineal activation is just one step. But if you don't start somewhere, you go nowhere. Right? You go nowhere.
Absolutely. I mean, there is always the start point, and then from there is infinite.
It's infinite. That's exactly right. And we are infinite spiritual beings having this this earthly experience, right? And wow, sometimes it can be a challenge, right? And sometimes it can be an uncomfortable challenge, but you know, again, you have a choice. You can stay in the uncomfortableness and dwell in it and spiral into more uncomfort, or you can say, okay, been down that road, done with that. Let's try the other side, see what we can do over there, right? And work on that. You know, so it boils down to the choice of what is the experience that you came here to this dimension to have, right? And it is an education. It's a learning process for everyone to find and return back to the light of the source of where we began, right?
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Like, look, Fresia Castro, the creator of this method, she says that we have come here to learn how to create with love.
Oh, that is such a beautiful statement.
And I love that.
Yes.
I love that because that's what we're doing here.
Right.
That's really what we're doing here until one day we come back home again.
That's right. Yes. And reunite on that love and not forget where we came from, right? And it is in that love. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, Veronica, we could talk forever on this, you know, and all the different aspects.
I love this topic.
Oh,
I can be here hours.
Well, I'll tell you, it definitely is something that I'm very passionate with myself, you know, too, in in what I do and the importance of that, and to know that there is a science behind it. It's not just a foo-foo thing as it once was thought to be. You know, and it's through education. You know, and the more information you get, the more knowledge you get. What are you going to do with that? Knowledge is priceless only if you put it into action.
Yeah.
Right? Because knowledge without action.
When knowledge... Exactly. It's knowledge without experience is only knowledge.
Yeah.
So we have to experience things ourselves. Yeah, so that's the only way. Because I can be talking here saying this is wonderful, you know, this is beautiful, you try it. But if you don't live it, it doesn't mean anything to you. So it's just taking that leap of faith and acting, as you say.
Right, it's like living in a library.
Absolutely.
Full of books, and they're taking one off the shelf. Right? Right? So you've got this compilation of knowledge that is just sitting there being stagnant. Right?
Yeah.
Start putting things into action and start walking the talk, because a lot of people will talk that talk, but they don't walk that talk. There's a difference. And we are all here to help you activate whatever knowledge it is that you have to take that next step to put it into creation, And that's where life begins. And that's where the fun begins in the adventure. There's nothing to fear out there other than the fear itself. And fear is created up here between these 6 inches, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to take that 6 inches and move it away into creativity, right? And so that's what we're looking to have. So where can we go with that? So with that, Veronica, I want to say thank you so much for being here. However many times you popped in and out, right? You came back. And
I'm so sorry about that, but I cannot control that.
There's no reason to. Yeah, you can't apologize for technology. I learned that a long time ago, and we've all been down that road once or twice. Yeah. But we got the message out there. People understood it. We're gonna pull up this little thing where Veronica, you can get a hold of her. Her website is www.highfrequencybeing.com. Go there, check her out, and see if she is someone that you can align with. And reach out.
Yeah.
Use that comment box for what it's for, right? Right? So again, thank you so much, Veronica, for being here and sharing this beautiful message on how we can reach that inner person of who we are to become that best us. So it's time to say, go out there and be that best you that you can be, because Veronica and I here are going to go out and be that best we that we can be. And thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next show. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. It's in the meeting now?